Hey everyone, this is Jack Gordon from the private team as part of Chicago Booth. And so, as part of our press release and our FAQs, we also wanted to share a little video demos to make this come to life a little bit more. And so, this should be viewed in context with those other documents, so please take a look at those if you haven't yet. What we'll do here is we'll run our agent on Peloton Interactive. And so you'll see here, all that's actually required for a user to do is to find the ticker of the company that they're looking into, enter it in the type of input we are looking for, and it'll go from there. So we'll get that started. And I'll talk you through as we get outputs of this. At the beginning of this, we just want to make sure that there are basic checks in place. Do we have all of the data we need? Is the path to get to there persistent? If there's any issue with that, it'll make sure that the user knows where to find more information. After that, we move on to feasibility. And given the history of take privates, if you think about the amount of debt that individual companies can think about adding on to do a leverage buyout, there is a real limit. So as we thought about this, we wanted to think, well, where are some of those feasibility checks? One of them is around market cap and net debt. So what that'll do is it'll filter out companies like Apple, which are much too large to ever be considered. We've used a value of 45 billion for net debt and market cap together. We then checked whether it had been through an IPO process in the last 12 months, just given the lockup regulations and rules that are in place. Lastly, we checked whether or not it was in a vice industry. Think gambling, adult entertainment, other areas that generally are outside of private equity funds' mandates. From there, if all of those pass fine, we'll continue forward to Report Planner, where we'll build out the report. After that, we start collecting certain values about the company. You'll see here it mentions metric check and competitor check. These go out to look for a set of common financial metrics, think revenue, operating margin, EBITDA, net income, shares outstanding, etc., to help understand the company. It also goes and begins to look at the competitors, so using web browsing capabilities to say, what are the information that we know about them? What are the 5 competitors that I want to tell the private equity associate? After that, you'll see that it starts writing. So using the structure from the report planner, it'll go through a mix of kind of indications whether or not there may be a deal possible. So we talk about strategic reviews, prior bids, rumors, trying to understand from web search and other filing materials, is there interest in this company? Are they potentially willing to go for a take private? After that, we start through the Stephen Kaplan from Chicago Booth, his OutSex Cupid framework. And so each of these is working through one of those parts of the framework, developing queries to go run retrieval augmented generation and looking at public search, running that research and actually writing a section for it. Each of these will write to an individual part of our report that we have been collating. And at the end here at the bottom, you'll see that it's started to put things together. It's judging the attractiveness of each of those individual sections and creating a structured report that is going to be able to help for any users who want to be running this on a more consistent basis. So if you want to call an output that is not a text output, that's something we do with a structured report. Lastly, you'll see the final report has popped up here. We use O3 Mini to help reason through how to structure this, how to think through the final score, the rationale, and really lay this out in a way that's helpful to users. So as we see here, using Peloton as an example, we find it thinks of a score in the 5 to 6 range, which we told the model to think of as relatively neutral. We said to think of 7 or higher as a recommendation to go further. And so it's thinking about the benefits of the competitive strength and relatively undervalued, but its debt is particularly high. And so we wanted to say, okay, let's go a bit further. So it talks about rationale. gives key metrics for users to go and do further work off of. This will be pulled generally from financial statements. It'll give the key competitors as mentioned. And lastly, for each of those characteristics that we were writing reports on, we don't want to lose that information. And so this creates a view of what's the characteristic, what's the score assigned to each. For example here, seeing that strategic reviews, there's a lot of restructuring happening. This might be something that's quite interesting. On the other side, rumors, there's not much out there in the market according to its web searches to figure that out. Debt is one area that we know that this is particularly conservative on, as is uncertainty, and that's something that in further iterations of this we would continue to look into. Lastly, we finish with follow-up questions. So if I was a private equity associate, what are the things that I want to do next? So how should I go and think about this further as I go back to the members on my deal team? If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or any of the members of the team. We've been excited to put this together for you.